Hello, so I painted 3 landscapes in the last 3 days. One to challenge myself to do something consistently and also to focus on this feeling of summer going away and us going into autumn. The theme was like the fading of the summer sun, and so lighting was a big focus in all of these landscapes. I wouldn't say like this summer was like super fun and amazing and adventurous. I would just say it was more contemplative and cathartic. There were so many breakthroughs and a release of maybe old ways and old patterns, and I'm very grateful for that. I'm looking forward to what's ahead and what's coming in the next season. I'm not going to show the landscapes in order of how I painted them, more so in order of from summer into autumn. So the next landscape would be this one, I think. This is a rainforest canyon, and it just feels like an escape from the summer heat. It has more blue in the greens, and overall just because light does not come into the canyon so much. And now we're going to go into the sun fading away, and this is the last painting I did. So I just finished it this morning because last night I realized that this part was a little bit too light, and I was wondering like, why is this painting so distracting? And it was because you can't really focus on this part here, which is the central part of the painting. It's telling the whole story really of like the sun setting and only hitting one part of the whole landscape. And so then this morning I darkened this area as well as this area so that the eye really goes here to the back where the sun is setting. I also added a little bit more pink in the sunset areas. And yeah, so you got this feeling like, okay, the sun is leaving us and now we go into autumn, which is the last landscape here. I would say this is the most autumny one. It's just like a walk through a forest that's slowly changing color. You've got more reds and yellows coming in, and the light is poking through the leaves and making this very strong lighting here. And so you can see that lighting was very prominent in all of them. And this one not so much because the sun is in full force. This one is more indirect lighting. And speaking of that, I watched a video. I'll have to link it because I forgot his name already. It's Marco something, and he was talking about ambient occlusion and then the lighting and coloring that goes into the cast shadows. If you have like shadows within the space, they're like shadows in a shadow, if that makes sense, because it's not direct sunlight. And so I'm just learning about all of this, and it's really, really fun to learn and then apply what I've learned and sort of just challenge myself. For this one I really had to put in more blue in my greens, whereas I tend to put more yellows in my greens, but there was still some yellow because sun is coming in a little bit, so there was a little bit of yellow that came through, but it was still a very cool yellow at the same time. So it was just very interesting to like observe all of these different colors and understand the logic behind them. And then with this one here, the challenge of the colors for me was also just trying to capture the shadow, which is here. I really had to try to get darkness and coolness, but still a little bit of warmth. So it was all very interesting to study the colors and put them into practice. Another thing that I noticed with these light studies was to sort of amplify them a lot more than what you see in the reference. So I made the darkers darker and the lights lighter. It just, I don't know why when you translate from photography to painting, it looks better if you add a little bit more contrast. Anyways, that's what I did. I can't speak for everybody. But for me, I really learned to put very, very light colors next to very, very dark colors. That was the big thing that I was learning. And then with this one, I would say this is probably the lighting situation that was most comfortable for me, because it is warmer light, more familiar. I don't know why, I just feel very comfortable in yellows. And in warmer tones, so this wasn't so challenging for me. Sorry, I meant to say it wasn't the most challenging lighting wise and color wise, but what was challenging was trying to get all the details of the leaves and of the grass and everything else, because it is a lot more of a detailed painting. Well, okay, this was quite detailed too, but I don't know, for some reason this was more difficult. I had to try to find the sweet spot between having details and then just suggesting details. So for example, just putting a few paint strokes to communicate the leaves, but not having to do like every single leaf. Same thing with the grass and everything else. That was the biggest challenge for me with this piece, was just balancing the details, because I think I mentioned in one of my previous videos that I want to learn to not get so lost in the details. So yeah, I think those are all the reflections I have on these pieces. I don't know why I don't do landscapes more. If you followed me for the last year when I really started this art journey, it's really been about animals, and I love that. You know, I love that I've been doing animals. You can see, mostly animals. Okay, then I transitioned into plants, plants and animals. But animals was kind of always there. And I think just because I feel very just comfortable and safe with animals. So maybe that's why it's like the beginning of my art journey. So I'm just gonna go with what makes me feel happy and safe. But slowly I've transitioned into more plants. So here you can see more papaya. Lots more fruits are coming in nowadays, just plants. And so I'm in a plant phase, and then I guess slowly now into landscapes, and then maybe I'll have landscapes with animals. And also on this page, this is maybe something I want to dive deeper into, and that's more Peranakan art. On my mother's side, we are Peranakan, so I've studied a little bit, and I've always wanted to get closer to my family and get closer to my roots, and I think this is a nice way to do that through art. So yeah, let me know what you think about that. Now we have come to the end of this video. I hope that you have had a wonderful summer, whether it was full of energy and activity, or if it was more low-key, if it was a good one or a bad one. I hope however it was, that you now feel at peace and you're ready to move into autumn. Thank you again, as always, for being here and listening and creating with me. It means a lot, and I will see you in the next video.